Hello, guys. This is Rishabh, and welcome to ILMS Academy webinars. ILMS Academy, India's premier legal and management education portal. Get certified to enhance employability.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to ILMS Academy. As you all know, today we are hosting a webinar on patent drafting. And today we have a wonderful opportunity to learn it from the expert herself, Ms. Rajeshwari Hariharan. And of course, she needs no introduction in the field of patents. But still, I'll just give a little bit introduction about her. She has 25 years of plus experience. She is the founder of renowned firm Rajeshwari and Associates. And recently, she has been awarded Accenture Women in Law Excellence Award. And before we begin with, I just want, ma'am, do you want to say something before we begin with this session?
Sure. So first of all, thank you so much for the very kind introduction, Anu. It's a great pleasure for me to be present here today in this academy and share my thoughts on patent drafting, which is a very very important subject when it comes to patents because it's the fundamental when it comes to granting of a patent. This is the just fundamental, so such a bedrock thing, such a very important topic that you are discussing today. So thank you so much for inviting me here and it's going to be a great time. I think we're going to have a great time, trying to discuss various issues on drafting, and I think we'll have a great session. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. We have many interesting questions from industry partners, from students, and surely we're gonna enjoy a lot about it. And we're gonna learn a lot. So let me just brief you about the profile of a participant. So for this webinar, there are a lot of participants who are students, who are research scholars, and some people are working as a scientist in companies. So we collected unique questions from everyone. We gave them an opportunity to, ask the questions beforehand. So there were many questions which were common. So I just collected few of the questions which relatively may clear their doubt on the whole of the topic. So yeah, so let's begin the session with the first question. So this is the question which is asked by a research scholar who is based in IIT Kharagpur. So his main concern is that, most of the time their teachers and professors, they, motivate them to publish papers. And their work is once published, so they are not able to monetize it with the, patent filing. So his main concern is how to go about it. Like suppose he has started some research work, what they should do so then they can have a benefit of patents as well as, paper publications and things like that.
Sure. Thank you so much. A very beautiful and very interesting question. So, see, when you talk about a patent, what is the patent? Patent is nothing but an agreement with the state where you say that I will disclose my invention, and in turn, the government will give you a patent, a monopoly for 20 years. So, you are required to disclose. So, it's a right for you to, stop others from copying your invention. So for the first thing with regard to patents is that you must first file a patent. You just because you have an idea, you don't get a patent. You have to
Yeah.
work hard. You have to first file an application, and it has to be totally new. It has to be absolutely new, new in the sense never published. So for research scholars, the best way to go about it is do your research. First, you file your patent, and thereafter you may of course go ahead and publish it. Sometimes it may be possible for you, the good idea, one other possibility would be that maybe you can give it for a proofreading to the a journal or the whatever concerned organization, and thereafter perhaps you first file your patent application and then you may give, ensure that it is published. So publication of a paper must always take place after you have filed your patent. You cannot at any cost publish something and then file a patent. That cannot work. So it is publish and perish is the proverb. So we must, if you publish, you will perish. There are a lot of
Yeah.
people, who have published their inventions. They see some product in the market, they improvise on it. Then they think that they've come with a very beautiful product, very new principle, and then they have published it. But then there are other people who will look at it and then they can easily reverse engineer or otherwise, make the product themselves. So you are deprived of the commercial benefit because you have already published the work. You can no longer patent it. On the other hand, that person takes the idea from your paper and then he may himself develop the product and then he may even, patent it. You never know.
Yeah.
So those are all the pitfalls. So therefore, the best way to go about this is that you first go ahead, rush to the patent office, file a patent, and then publish it. So therefore, the patent office, the Patent Act has a provision of granting provisional applications. So you can actually file a provisional application. So if your every data is not ready, you're not in the final stages of the product, it's okay. You can file a provisional application. Then you can go ahead and publish whatever you want. Then thereafter, you can update your provisional application by filing a complete application. So according to me, this would be the best way of doing it, that you first file a patent so that your invention is not disclosed to anyone because you have to maintain the novelty. And thereafter, you can publish as many papers as you want about your invention.
So yeah, this is a fantastic advice. And it was indeed our second question from other research scholar, because they asked us, what to do, like my research is incomplete and my data is not done. I'm not sure, whether what to do. So yeah, provisional patent is the answer. And to just summarize the ma'am's point is if before publication, before publishing anything, just go ahead with a brief draft in your provisional and go and get a provisional application number. It secures your invention and makes you eligible to reap the benefit. And of course, the commercial aspects is also covered. So yeah, I hope that all research scholars, before publishing anything, they just go and get their provisional application number. Yeah. So another question that is related to this, the same thing. Many people are asking, what is the major difference between a provisional application and complete application, and if at all they are filing a provisional application, so what should they do? Like, what are the key points they should keep in mind for filing a provisional application?
Sure. This is a very good question. So when you're, as I said, you're filing a provisional in order to secure a date. The entire patent game is all about the date, is all about the priority. So the person who goes to the patent office first and books his ticket by way of a filing of a patent is the one who will win the race. So if you are first today, then that's the race you have won. So you have to be first. So therefore, you need to have a you need to have a provisional application. Now, what is required in a provisional application? In a provisional, you're not required to provide the claims, but you need to provide the general contours of your invention. You may not give the final details. So in the sense, if you've invented a new compound, you may not give the HNMR data, you may not give the NMR data, you may not give the other, actual details about the compound, but certainly you must describe the structure of the compound. You must describe what are the activities of the compound. You must describe the IUPAC name of the compound. You must say that in the prior art, there were these compounds, so and so compounds were there. But then now I have prepared a new compound, which is much better than the other compounds. And you may not show the in vitro data or the human clinical trials about that compound. That is not possible. That is not expected. But what is expected is at least a statement from your end that it works better. So I have got aspirin, or I've got a new version of aspirin. And I say that all those aspirin is there in the prior art. All of them cure the headache, but it takes about half an hour. But now I have this new powder of aspirin, cures the headache. You eat it and immediately your headache is gone in 2 seconds. And so I at least make those statements. I give the recipe how to make that powder. And I described the whole thing in detail about this particular powder, which the sachet, the powder which I'm coming up with. So I put that. In the complete application is when I would have tested it on, sorry, rats, or perhaps I would have tested it on some animals, or perhaps on humans. I would have done some tests. So I will
Yeah.
give those test results. I will compare it with the aspirin that exists in the public domain. And then I will show that my aspirin is better. But the
Okay.
general contours of my application, the general contours of my invention should be present in my provisional application. So many people, sometimes they assume, oh, it's a provisional application, we can just write it on our own, just write one paragraph, and that is good enough. They just write a paragraph saying that it can be taken and it will cure the headache. And you may find some few more lines, but quite similar to this. This will not do. You will have to give some more technical details about your invention. You will have to
Okay.
explain how your sachet, how your powder is derived, what is the chemical formula, what is the recipe you have followed, how you are
Yeah.
going to make the final product, how it will be administered to the patient. So those kind of details will need to be provided in the provisional application. They may not be the full and complete details, but there will be the general contours.
Okay.
In the complete application, you can give, all the details, because that's going to decide the fate of your invention. So that must have all the details.
Okay. To summarize ma'am's point, basically, provisional application in Indeed is also very important, and it's also be very carefully drafted. It should have very key points of your invention, and it shouldn't be just like a raw draft. So pay a keen attention to your provisional application drafting as well, because that will, decide the fate of your complete specifications. Okay. So yeah, provisional is easy, provisional is priority, and provisional is also should be carefully drafted, and instructions as ma'am has detailed we should keep in mind. Now, moving ahead, there is one interesting question. So this there is this person, he is saying that he has invented a bag. Now he has just drawings. So can he what he can do right now, can he at all protect that drawings in any form
Yeah,
of the
sure.
bags?
Yeah. So he has to decide. Now, the key element that we need to ask here is, question that we have to ask here is, this particular bag that he has prepared, the bag that he has developed. Now, is there some technological intervention in this? So quite, just to give you an example, sometimes you have those bags, you can touch them, and just because you touch them, then they get immediately locked. And only when you touch, they're
Yeah.
touch sensitive. So only when you will touch, the bag will open. Otherwise, the bag will not open. So is there
Okay.
some technological intervention of that nature? Or is it just a normal bag, like you have a strap and some buckle or something, and then you can just open the bag, and it's just a normal bag with some, pockets inside? So is it one of those kinds? And is it just good looking? So if everything about the bag is only the fact that it is good looking bag, then
Okay.
all you need to do is to go ahead and file a design application, because
Okay.
design is another branch of intellectual property
Okay.
which protects the external features, the shapes, the
Okay.
patterns, etc. So quite like a
Okay.
bag or a mobile phone, the way it looks like, so the appearance, external appearance is protected by design. So
Okay.
this bag, if everything about the bag is only the good looks, it's
Hmm.
just a traditional bag, but it just looks very nice, beautiful
Hmm.
color, looks nice. So then design is the answer. Technological intervention, I have some technical solutions here. There's some new invention. Maybe the buckle is new. Maybe the strap is different. It is so,
Okay.
it's got some very technologically different kind of a strap. I woven not just a weaving. You can't just say that I woven a strap, with yarn, and therefore I want to have a new patent. But really, some real technological advance which has never been done in bags. So if
Okay.
that kind of technological intervention is there, then the bag you may wish to do a patent as well as a design. So remember, you can actually you can have two rights or even three rights or four rights coexisting. So you can
Okay.
have a design as well as a patent. So you can try for both. So it all depends on what that bag does.
Okay. So the important point here, ma'am, highlighted is to ask yourself the question first. What exactly is the new in your bag? Is it the look or is it some technological advancement, as explained by ma'am? So if it is all about the look and feel, if it is simply the pattern or a feature which is identifiable, so there is another branch of patents which you can procure is design patent. Okay. So, ma'am, can you just advise, suppose there is one product which has both the technological advancement and the design, and how the if a company is a very small company, so how they should go about it? Should they pursue both the patents, or there is some kind of commercial analysis which they can do to decide on which IPR they should go about?
So ideally, they should go for both,
Okay.
because even for a design, if it is published, if it comes into public domain, then you
Okay.
can no longer file the design. So it would
Okay.
be best that they should first file the design as well as the patent. That would be the
Okay.
best way, and then go forward. So
Okay.
if there are some budgetary constraints, at
Okay.
least at the very basic, a patent should be filed if there is a technological intervention. Sometimes
Okay.
it is possible for you to file the patent in the name of an individual. So that time it is far cheaper. So I
Okay.
think you should look at it as an investment, not count your pounds and the pennies and the rupees, and go for both the design as well as the patent, for the reason that if you miss the protection now,
Yeah.
then it is not possible for you to protect it ever after. So you will have
Yeah.
a technological advantage, but then you will just not be able to keep the monopoly, because everyone can copy it. Anyone can
Yeah.
copy it. I will give you this example. See, in the good old days, we used to, when the cigarette packets were being made by, Foursquare and such companies, that Godfrey and Philip Morris and other companies, there was a company in Malaysia. Earlier they used to be square. The cigarette packets used to be rectangular and they used to have sharp edges.
Okay.
And it did not look. It was okay. I mean, people were able to carry it in their pockets and all that. But they often found that once you keep it in the pocket, you take it out, keep it, take it out, keep it. The edges get spoiled. The
Okay.
top of the, especially the lid of the cigarette packet. You
Yeah.
open, close, open, close. It just becomes very weak. And there are about 10 to 15 cigarettes in that. 10 to sometimes 12 cigarettes are there. And
Okay.
it becomes very weak. So 10 times, 12 times you are taking it out. So it gets
Yeah.
spoiled. So there was a
Okay.
Malaysian company, they made an invention. And the
Okay.
invention was that the cover of the box, of that cigarette box, would be such that at the edges, it would be very thick. And
Okay.
it had a beveled edge, in the sense that it was the square, it was a rectangle, all right. But at each of the edges, he gave it a bevel, in the sense
Okay.
he blunted the edges.
Oh.
He blunted the edges, so it became eight, octagonal kind of thing. So it was
Okay.
also not only easy to carry, but the lid was very easy to open and close, and it would not wear out. It wouldn't
Okay.
break. Moisture and all that, it will be resistant. So 10, 12 times is when you will open, 15 times you will open it. So 15 times it will open and then nothing will happen to it. So this is an invention. So he filed a patent as well as a design. So this is just
Okay.
a simple, it's a very simple thing that he did. So
Yeah.
even for such simple things, you can file for a patent. And you should file for a design also whenever there is such a, because it looks very nice, external appearance looks nice. So he filed for a design. So if there are budgetary constraints, you should file in the, maybe your individual's name, because that's far cheaper. But
Hmm.
don't compromise on the filings. You should file for both design as well as the patent. This is my suggestion. That would be the best way to protect it, because protection is what you're doing now, and you
Yeah.
will reap the fruits and the benefits after many years. And after
Yeah.
many years, when many people are copying it, you will regret, I wish I had filed the design. I wish I had taken that
Yeah.
step. So it's always a good idea to file for both.
Yeah, and even the term of patent is quite long for design,
Yes,
and even so the commercialization and monopoly lasts for long. So
that's
like
right.
before, looking at these, I think people should more focus, like, eliminating the copycats. So even if they are able to eliminate them for 2 3 years, the revenue will shoot up like anything. So yeah.
Correct.
So like after that, there is one more question which is asked by an IIT student. He's asking, like, what is this concept of difference, the major difference between the novelty aspect of an invention and non-obviousness?
Yeah. So this is also a good question here. So I'll take a bit of time to answer this, because this needs a little bit of explanation.
Yeah.
Novelty is in absolute terms. So when you say that an invention is new, you mean to say that it's never been produced, it's never been made, never been published anywhere in the world, not just India. So
Okay.
people have this notion that there is something which is there in China, it's produced in China. This is a
Yeah.
machine or a product which is there in China, but it doesn't exist in India. It exists in Korea. So why can't I come to India and I can produce it? So that won't work, because novelty is worldwide. So if it
Okay.
is produced, manufactured, published, known anywhere in the world,
Okay.
your invention will be lacking novelty. So
Okay.
one, that it is produced, manufactured anywhere in the world. Two, it is published. So
Okay.
even if some research scholar,
Hmm.
he has conceived of the same invention that you did somewhere in Papua New Guinea, and
Hmm.
he published a paper,
Hmm.
maybe in some language. Okay. So even that will destroy your novelty. So
Okay.
your novelty has to be absolute. It has to be
Okay.
totally new,
Okay.
entirely new. That's
Okay.
what is novelty.
Okay.
Then comes the issue of non-obviousness.
Okay.
Non-obviousness it's very simple. It's to say, could a person skilled in the art have done it?
Okay.
So is it something which is very much within the knowledge of a person skilled in the art? So if
Hmm.
just to give you a simple example, so you have scissors. Now, all
Hmm.
most of the scissors which we find are made for people with the right hand, who use the
Hmm.
right hand. So you
Hmm.
have, a small, you have a longer, you have a scissor with one edge of that, one arm of that, which is having a longer, vacuum shape, and another one where you can fit your thumb. Now, if you want to produce this for manufacture the same scissors for the left hand holder, perhaps you will invert it. So that is very obvious. Any person will think, if someone has to do it, then they will immediately think of the solution.
Yeah.
So obviousness is like that. Can you immediately think of that solution? If you can
Okay.
immediately think of the solution, then it is obvious. Or if the solution is already suggested in the prior art.
Okay.
So you are trying to make a new compound. You want to
Okay.
add a phenyl group to it, or you want to add a fluorine group to it. And there is
Okay.
some prior art which says that you must add fluorine group. It will give you better efficacy. So then it is
Okay.
very obvious. So this is
Okay.
obviousness. That is, it is already suggested by the prior art. It is already known in the prior art. That is
Hmm.
when things become obvious, that it is already there. You're not doing something new. Whereas
Okay.
novelty is that you are doing it for the first time in the world.
Okay.
So situations may be that you may be doing something for the first time in the world,
Hmm.
but it may be very obvious.
Okay.
It may be suggested by somebody.
Okay.
They may not have produced that product, they may not have manufactured that product, they may not have put
Hmm.
it in the market, but
Hmm.
nevertheless somebody would have suggested. So sometimes
Okay.
you have products where
Okay.
you have, now these days you get those gadgets, where you have a single hub where you can have
Okay.
so many gadgets you
Yeah.
can charge at the same time, a port.
Hmm.
So maybe then, there would be somebody in China who would have suggested this kind of a thing, that I wish we have a gadget where you can charge everything together. So you don't
Hmm.
have, there will be a gadget which will come, which will say, all right, now I will charge the laptop also, USB also, I will charge your
Hmm.
phone also, I will charge anything else also. Obviously, there has to be some circuitry, etc., which he has to work out in between in that gadget. This is not suggested by the prior art. Simply
Okay.
having a wish is not good enough. There has to be a technical solution provided by the prior art. If the
Okay.
technical solution is there in the prior art, then
Hmm.
your invention is obvious. So, obviousness is
Okay.
a little bit subjective, but novelty is very easy to understand. Is it there in the prior art? Is it published, or is it manufactured, or is it
Okay.
known? So if that is so, then your invention lacks novelty. You have to again go back to the drawing board and perhaps make some more, developments in your invention, and then file your invention. So that is why people do a search, before embarking on preparing, on coming up with your product. Always it is good to go for a search. Why? Because you will not be reinventing the wheel. You do the
Okay.
search, you will find out that, oh, somebody has already done these things, let me not do that, I will do something beyond that, because you have to
Okay.
come with a technological advance. You have to
Okay.
come with something which is a advanced, which is something which is better than what everyone has done, something which nobody has conceived, something which people have never thought of. That's an invention. It might not be to the level of a Galileo or a Newton to say, I've invented this for the first time in the
Hmm.
world. It may be an improvement on something, but it
Okay.
has to be an improvement. It may be like a quite very simple thing, like a tiffin box. So a
Okay.
tiffin box which has a smart lock,
Okay.
does not leak. It is leak proof, because you will put some sealing, you will put some, some measures to ensure that, liquids inside the tiffin box do not leak. So there could be very simple technical solutions. That's fine. Simplicity is not a bar at all. There can be
Okay.
something which is very simple. You can still go for a patent. But the thing is that whatever you have come up with should be come for the first time in the world. It has to be a technological advance.
Okay. So yeah. So summarizing the point, the critical point is novelty. Your invention has to have to be new. And so there is one more question in the same line. So most of the inventors, they ask that they have made something clubbing the invention A, B, and C. Like for example, like this inventor, he's saying that he has made a self-steering mug which has a base which can also heat the liquid inside, and also it has a lid that keeps the thing bar. So there and he's saying that it is something which is not available. There are some mugs which are self stirring but not self heating. There are some mugs which has the heating base but they are not self stirring, and there are some mugs which are portable and keep the thermodynamics the same, but they don't have the self-steering motion and neither the heating. So such kind of like suppose there are scattered qualities which are available and then somebody just combines. So can they can it be the part of, can they overcome the bar of novelty or non-obviousness?
Yeah, sure. So it's not just combining. So, to take your example further, suppose you make, you have those Swiss knives. You have a knife,
Yeah.
and along with the knife, you have a nail cutter, and then you have a spring. So these are
Yeah.
just things which you have just added to it. So there is
Yeah.
no technological advance, because it's just screwing things up and it's just fitting them together. But what is required is, knife is known, you know, the knife is known, the spring is known, and nail
Yeah.
cutter is also known. You have just combined them together, in a particular manner, and you have given this, this Swift knife. So this is not patentable. But what is patentable is even if the ingredients are known. So you have different ingredients like turmeric, you have spices and so many other extracts which are available, the herbal extracts. All of them are known for various properties. So if you
Okay.
combine them, but and then you achieve a synergistic effect, you find that it cures pain, or perhaps it is very good for arthritis. Together, it cures arthritis very quickly, or maybe it relieves the pain for arthritis very quickly, or it gives some healing effect very quickly. That synergistic effect, the plus effect, will take you forward, and that will give you the patent, because that's the technological advance. So merely combining will not work,
Okay.
but doing something beyond that combination will
Mhm.
get you a patent, will make it
Okay.
a technological advance. So another example could be like, you have tiffin boxes. So
Okay.
simply combining 3 4 tiffin boxes together and making a stack of it, that
Mm.
won't, that will certainly not get you a patent. But
Okay.
then if you come up with a different arrangement, some kind of a very unique manner of arranging the tiffin boxes in which they look very nice, not only look nice, but there's a technical advancement in that they have some kind of a locking mechanism. Each of them has a lock, so they won't even if you tilt them here and there, the children, they often do that. So even if you tilt them here and there, if they are locked, then they will just not come out. So that kind of a system is certainly patentable. So while you may combine things which are in the public domain, there must be a greater effect, a push, a further effect beyond just combining the things. You will certainly get a patent.
Okay. So basically, you need to have some kind of Mindas touch to your combining. It shouldn't be just pouring the things and just making it. So I believe like all the inventors, it's very important, that they research about their products, whatever it is available, and then think about how to make it something which is very effective, or somewhere which is adding some kind of quality to your just existing combination. So all the people who come up with this common query that this is existing, but this is not existing, so you have your answers now. So yeah, similar, there is some technical difference, is that most of the people, you have explained it very nicely. You have explained it very nicely. So, like now we will move on to like I think most of the students have now their basics sorted, like what exactly is patent and non-obvious and all these things. Like basic concepts are now clear. Now, in we'll take a short break on this, and then we'll move on to more effective technical real-time examples related to some fields like pharmaceuticals and all. So, yeah, we'll be right back after a few minutes. So, yeah, thank you, ma'am. We'll see you again with the advanced questions. Thank you.
Okay, look forward.
Visit ILMS Academy for various courses from contract drafting, RTI, labor law, GST, and more. Get certified to enhance employability.